and being absolutely horrified and shocked, to the extent that I had to read them several times, because the figures of the number of birds killed and the diversity of raptor species which were being slaughtered then were beyond my comprehension. At that point in my life, I'd not seen a white-tailed eagle. I probably hadn't seen a golden eagle. I'd been lying about distant buzzards at the far end of the glen. I couldn't conceive of a world where there were that many raptors to even be killed. And then, of course, as my fondness for this group of birds grew throughout that early 70s, I became more aware of their populations, and I finally got round to joining the RSPB. And at that stage, there used to be a small section in the Birds magazine, which came out and still does quarterly, which outlined criminal prosecutions, and the raptor crime was always there, along with egg collecting. And as I continued to read those throughout the 70s and 80s, I thought to myself, along with many of you I'm sure, that these things were going to fade out, because we were becoming better aware. We had the law behind us. Both of these things were illegal. Prosecutions were taking place, and this was seen as very definitely antisocial behaviour. And I think that the consensus was, certainly, by the mid-80s, that all of this was going to be a thing of the past. And it would be left to those catalogues in books like McNally's for us to cast our minds back into history when those sorts of unacceptable and unnecessary slaughters were taking place. I never imagined that in the 21st century we would have to motivate a movement to come together to continue to lobby against the slaughter of these sorts of birds. I mean, was it idealism? Surely not. But here we are. We find ourselves standing in a field in Rainham, whilst 10 other groups of people over the course of this weekend will come together because, like everyone here and everyone there and many others who unfortunately can't attend today, we are sick and fed up of these criminals robbing us of our natural heritage. And we now are going to do something about it. And look at the progress we've made. This is our 4th year of Hen Harrier focus. We've had a successful petition which reached more than 100,000 signatures and saw a debate in Parliament. And whatever you think about the results of that, it's immaterial. 100,000 people, in excess of 100,000 people, signed a petition saying they'd had enough of driven grouse shooting because of the negative impacts that that imposes upon our environment. 100,000 people in year 3. That's quite a degree of progress. And I think when it comes to the general awareness that we've achieved, if you are in any way interested in wildlife in the UK, or you have an interest in conservation, and whether you're anywhere between the ages of probably 8 and 98, or 108 if you're lucky, you will be aware of the fact that these crimes are taking place and that the problem hasn't been solved, and in some ways it's still getting worse. And the reason it's getting worse is not down to that persecution directly, of course. In McNally's, not McNally's days, but in Johnny Kytra's days, he was one of the keepers that McNally was fond of writing of his escapades. There were enormous amounts of habitat where these birds were living. And of course that level of persecution had an impact, and it certainly had a local impact. But the world was a bigger, richer, better place at that time. And I guess in some places at least that level of persecution could be absorbed. But I mean, look around yourself now. Where we are standing is a fabulous RSPB reserve, but it is like a little postcard dropped on southern England, where the RSPB do enormously good work to protect it and maintain its biodiversity and its richness of habitats. I flew in yesterday, I flew back from Canada. I landed yesterday lunchtime, and it was a clear fly in, and I looked down on southern England, and I thought, my goodness me, look at all that concrete, look at all that tarmac, look at all those roof tiles. There is so little space now, and this puts enormous pressure on all of our species. Doesn't matter what it is, we know that many of them are in trouble. So when you add criminal persecution on top of that, then it does become unsustainable. And I think that's one of the things we've got to remember. You know, we cannot any longer tolerate, these populations can't any longer tolerate this level of illegal persecution. Some birds which are harvested, which are shot, they're legally can't tolerate the level of shooting that's going on at the moment. Woodcock, snipe, are in serious and critical decline. Should we really be shooting these birds, or should we just stop for a while to find out what impact the shooting is really having, to monitor that and maybe change our practices? But let's not go off target here. I think that what the hen harrier has become is not just a bird that we're interested in conserving, a single species conservation project. It's become an icon. And it's become an icon not even for the protection of our uplands, our moorland. From my point of view, it's become a banner, a banner that we've got behind because we care about the way that our landscape is being managed, both now and in the future. I mean, riven grouse shooting impacts negatively on hen harriers. We've got the 5 pairs in England. We know that we should have 300 pairs. As Mark has already explained, you don't get many TV presenters. You don't get many librarians. You don't get many plumbers or software engineers getting dragged through the courts for persecuting raptors. It's gamekeepers that get caught for persecuting raptors, in the main.